Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. We're finally here. It feels weird. The last match reaction of the season. It seems so long ago since the first one we did in pre-season, which, funny enough, I think was actually a watch-along all the way back at the start of pre-season. But as you see, I've got Jess, I've got Charlie with me. Barry will be joining towards the kind of back end of the show. If you've seen the tweet, we will be revealing the top 10 of the Predictions League towards the end of the show as well, because that's come down to the wire. So we'll see who's won the top 3 prizes and who made it into the top 10 for that as well. But we're going to dive into the Liverpool game. Not an eventful game, let's be real, not too much to talk about, but we've got some talking points that we want to go through. But Jess, I wanted to come to yourself first. I always like to start with this because it's kind of off the field stuff, but do you reckon that was the best atmosphere we've had this season? Obviously, we've had the Arsenal away end. Charlie obviously talked fondly, I'm sure, about that one. We've had some great atmospheres at LSV this season, you know, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, so on. Do you think that was one of the best ones that we've had? Because it certainly felt it in that away section. You are on mute, by the way. Professionals over here.
You'd think I'd be used to it by now, to be honest, but no, it still gets me periodically. No, for me, that was probably the best one I've been to. I thought the away support was fantastic. I actually had a couple of Liverpool fans behind me for some unknown reason. And they left just after we scored. So me and my friend took great pleasure in singing a little bit louder as they were walking out. But no, I thought the away section was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, we really need to kind of carry that on, or the WSL needs to push for that next season a lot more, make sure that there's away ends at kind of every game. Because, yeah, I thought the atmosphere was just incredible. I don't think I actually heard Liverpool fans make any noise or sing any songs. I don't know if that's just because they were far away or whether they just didn't really exist. But yeah, for me, definitely one of the best atmospheres I've been to this season, for sure.
I mean, Charlie, for yourself, obviously, Mark's talking about the Arsenal game in the comments as well. I mean, that's going to be hard to beat, that Arsenal away section. But obviously, gutting for yourself that you weren't able to make it on Saturday. But what do that kind of look at, especially that picture of the players in front of the away section, pretty much sold out that whole end. And, you know, as you would have seen or heard from watching it back, you know, didn't stop for most of the game. And it was, you know, pretty loud under there.
Yeah, it was. They had to open a second section, didn't they? I'm sure before the game there was a second release of tickets for United fans.
Which weirdly, sorry Charlie, was at the other end of the ground. I'm pretty sure John Neville was in the comments. Yeah. He was in that. I'm pretty sure it was the opposite end, which was weird. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. One of my friends said that explains probably why they didn't want it at Anfield, because imagine having it there and it being majority United fans, which is probably what would have happened. I managed to watch it from the second half onwards live, and then I watched it back, and it just sounded like a home game at LSV, but on steroids. Like that. That's how it came across on the television, and I could literally hear some people I know at times starting things off, and then everyone else getting stuck in. But yeah, it sounded phenomenal. It sounded like a proper game of football. It was constant throughout the entire 90 minutes, it felt like. I was saying backstage that it was kind of being implied on BBC Sport that Liverpool were being roared on by a buoyant home crowd. That is not how it sounded. That is not how it sounded if you were watching it from home, which I'm usually not. So it was interesting to watch it from home for once. Not favourable, not preferable, but yeah, it sounded incredible. And I loved it at the end. Like, even though they hadn't won the title, which is obviously what they wanted, and some of them were disappointed, the players. I think for the fans to stay behind in those numbers and to continue to make the noise that they did was incredible, and probably just what the players needed, because it has been a massive achievement. Yes, backstage, Mike. It has been a massive achievement. Just looks like this, Mike. Exactly the same, nothing different. But yeah, it's been a massive achievement what they've done this season. So I think it was important to have that sort of affirmation from the fans who have more than done their bit this season.
I was just typing the player of the match poll in the chat to make sure that goes up. But no, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's very weird that the second away end was the opposite end. Maybe that's quite honest. I don't know, whatever the reason was, but no, certainly it weren't outsung by Liverpool. As I said backstage, you know, the loudest cheer was when Chelsea scored. Nothing to do with their own team whatsoever. So yeah, they.
Oh, what a minnow of a side! We only cheer when someone who we're not playing scores.
Small club mentality, that is. Anyway, let's move on to the game itself. And obviously, the only surprise from the starting lineup point of view, we may as well start with a Vilda Barisa Jess starting. I think we all kind of looked at that when it came up. It's Vilda's starting, and Ladd was the one that dropped to the bench. But were you surprised by that? Because not gonna lie, I saw that and I thought, we're going for it here. It's what we wanted, Vilda and Tooney playing together. But were you surprised by that? Happy with it? What was your kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I was fairly happy with it. But yeah, complete shock to me. When the lineups kind of got announced, I was sat with my friends and I was like, lineups are out, best have a look. And she was like, what's the point? Is there going to be any changes? And I was like, no. And I'm pretty sure I actually looked at the lineup and I must have just skim read it because I didn't even notice. Because I'm just so used to it being like the same starting 11 that I didn't even properly read it. So it wasn't until the game started and I was like, where exactly, or when they read out the names and I was like, where's Hayley Ladd at? I was quite surprised she didn't come on at all. I just wondered whether she picked up a knock or something, but it was good to see Vilda get a good run out. I thought she played probably one of the best on the pitch. I wouldn't really say there was anyone that kind of had a standout performance, but I'd say she was up there as one of the best players. So yeah, really good to see her get a chance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, same question for yourself, but we'll kind of throw in the Vilda discussion while we're talking about her in terms of her performance as well. Because where's the comment? Not that one. Sorry, Mike. Sarah saying, personally, I think we missed Ladd. We'll merge it into that conversation in terms of Vilda got the start ahead of Ladd. What do we make on that one? Because like I said, I've seen a bit of conversation maybe saying that stifled Zellum a little bit. How did you kind of feel? Obviously, she got player of the match on the day, so clearly she did something right. She's on our poll as well, so we thought she did pretty well as well. But again, what's your kind of thoughts on Vilda starting instead of Ladd and her performance over the game?
I think yes, it's surprising in the sense that you change the starting 11. I think if she was going to come in for anyone, it would have been Ladd, not because any issue with Ladd, but I just don't think he's going to not play Tooney and Zellum. So it's more trying to think about his mindset rather than Ladd deserving to be dropped, which I don't necessarily think that. I think we've said previously that it might be perhaps games like when we play Liverpool or when we play sort of Leicester's and Readings, although not anymore, RIP, where you might maybe think there's more opportunity to play a more attacking midfield, which is technically what it should have been with Vilda coming in alongside Katie and Ella. But again, it hasn't happened very much. So it's also not surprising that it felt a little bit disjointed, I think, in the middle, because even though they're all very good footballers, they haven't played as a three at all. I'm not sure. I feel like in the Conti Cup at times, it was in the FA Cup, wasn't it? I feel like in the Conti Cup at times when Vilda played, Ella didn't play or Katie didn't play, so they've not played together. So it's not surprising that it was disjointed. But again, didn't worry me massively. But I think, yeah, whoever you don't play, you're going to miss something about them. And we've got to, going forwards, with hopefully there being more games consistently next season, if we get through to the Champions League proper, which is what we all want, that we need players to be able to rotate in and out and it to be kind of seamless and not have an impact really on the sort of rhythm of how we play, which he did a little bit, but I don't think it was too bad. Quite happy for Vilda to play, no issue at all.
No, that's a fair point, Jess. I'll come back to you on kind of that discussion in a second. You know, Vic saying there, would like to see Vilda, but I do like Hayley. I prefer Vilda over. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I thought Zellum did quite well, to be honest, and she's obviously had one of her best seasons in a United shirt for me. But you know, we've not seen much of Vilda, and we know that Vilda is a quality player as well. So the more we see of her, hopefully we see more of that come through. Contrary to what Mike has said, first thought was that, does that mean Vilda's leaving? I'm not going to comment. I don't know. Potentially, maybe that was a shopping window exercise. We don't know. Ultimately, we'll see what happens over the summer. It's going to be a busy one, that's for sure, with ins and outs. Jess, obviously coming back to you on the Vilda discussion, so do you think Charlie mentioned there that they've not really played much together, but particularly Barisa and Zellum together. Do you think that was maybe a part to playing? Because United, in recent weeks, have started very quick on the front foot and we've dominated the game. It was a pretty scruffy first 40 minutes. We couldn't really we had a lot of the ball as we usually do. We always control possession very well, but we didn't seem to have that cutting edge. Do you think that was part of it, or do you think the whole team was a part to play in that?
I think really the whole team's got a part to play in that. I don't think you can put something like that down to one person, because I don't think if you put Lad in for Vilda, that would necessarily have changed too much. I think that was kind of an issue with the whole team. I don't know if they weren't expecting Liverpool to set up how they did, whether it's just, last game of the season, you've got, no matter what you kind of think, everyone was half thinking, Chelsea, maybe they'll lose, who knows. So, it's kind of stressful last game of the season. So I think that was probably more a part of it. But going back to what Charlie said about kind of bringing in the players and how they've not played, the three in the middle haven't played that three kind of regularly. I think, again, moving into next season is something we're going to have to look at a little bit more, especially as you start playing kind of different teams, like different European teams. Hopefully if we make it past the qualifier into group stages, we're going to be playing teams from kind of different European countries that'll have a different style of play. And I think that means that we maybe need to be a little bit more kind of adaptable with who we play, especially in that centre three. Realistically, there's no reason why we can't take one player out and put another player in and it be more or less a seamless change. And that's kind of what we need. Because not only are we going to have more games, there is still the kind of risk that people are going to get injured, things like that. And you do want to be able to bring a player such as Vilda in to basically just slot into a position, do a job, maybe do it slightly differently to say Lad would do, but still do a good job and kind of come out with a favourable result and win us games.
Just a quick one, if that's okay. It was also nice to see Lisa come on near the end.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We would want to see her. For me, the most interesting thing going into next season is what that midfield is going to look like. I think there are certain players we're anticipating we're going to have to replace, and technically might have already been done so. But I think that midfield 3 or 4, whatever it is, that's the most interesting thing, particularly if PSG were correct when they first put their bizarre thing out about Cascarina, which was that we had permanently bought her and then backtracked very quickly. If she ends up staying, it's really interesting to me to see what that's going to look like, because they cannot fit them all in all of the time, and to try and do so would be a mistake. So big decisions are going to have to be made, but that's part and parcel of Mark's job, I suppose.
It certainly is, as Mike's saying there, talking off the back of what you were saying, guess she'll get some stuff. Considering a fee, you don't pay that much money in for somebody to not start. I imagine certainly a conversation we'll be having over the summer when we start looking ahead to next season, that is for sure, looking at that midfield. I'm going to stick with the midfield, actually, and move on to Tooney, because there's a comment that Victor just put there. I feel Tooney is underrated. I mean, that's a comment. Everyone's saying she's not scored since November. She brings so much more to the team than her goal and sets up so much right. Charlie, you're nodding away. I'll come to you on it, because there was a little bit of criticism of her again, because she seemed very, very quiet. She didn't. I don't know what seems to be up with her at the moment. She's getting subbed obviously a lot more recently that we've seen her kind of coming off, and she's never going to look happy when she's coming off. But in recent weeks, just looking at her kind of body language and the way she is when she's coming off, she's, like I said, she's never going to be happy and she's never going to be pleased with that decision. But what do you think's going on there, or do you think she's playing pretty well and the criticism maybe isn't as just? I don't know. I'm intrigued to know what you're thinking of how she's played.
I wouldn't say underrated. I don't think we underrate her. I think we have massive expectations of what she's able to achieve. So we don't underrate her. We think she should be and can be the best player in a red shirt. But I do think sometimes she's been frustrating this season, but I think there has maybe been a bit too much onus put on her, because for someone who's had an awful season, she's still got double figures for goal contributions when you put together the assists and the goals she scored. That's just in the league, I think. So she's certainly more than done her bit. I also wonder if she's feeling the pressure a little bit of being sort of the star player, the face of it all, off the back of the Euros. And I was about to stupidly say a rest over the summer would do her some good, but she's not going to get one, is she? Because she's going to New Zealand and Australia. But I think it's that weird thing, isn't it, of people sort of being tired, and it can only be because of not having the summer off. Because if you're just playing a women's football league campaign, there's not that many games. Even with the internationals, you're not often playing more than one game a week. But I think she's done more than people give her credit for. She might not be the name you see when it's the goal scored or the assist as often as she would like, but there's lots of other things that she does. And I just think it's just been one of those seasons where it's been a bit frustrating for, I think, for people to give up on her now. and cast doubt over her would be madness. And that's not normally something I would hope to associate with Man United fans. She just needs backing, I think.
No, 100% on your last point where you just said that. I mean, Jess, there's a lot of comments saying about how she looks tired and things like that. There was a comment a bit further on saying tiredness isn't an excuse because, we're at the end of the season now. How did you kind of make of her performance yesterday? Because we've said all season we want to see Bo Risa and Tooney play together. We only saw the one goal in the end, as we know, which we'll move on to a bit later on. But how do you think she did playing with Bo Risa and just kind of overall game yesterday?
I mean, again, it's kind of like I said to begin with, it's difficult to kind of pick a single player and analyse their game because I don't think anyone particularly did amazing. I don't think there was a single kind of standout performance in my opinion, but at the end of the day, we got the job done. That's all that matters. I think everyone was just kind of at a level, but in the same sense, no one played particularly poorly. I wouldn't say that anyone had an absolute shocker. I think on a kind of looking at it kind of more broadly, I don't think Tooney's maybe had the season that she would have wanted, but there is more to the game than just scoring goals and getting assists. Connor, you did this show the other week, kind of analysing her movement and things like that, and her movement is so much more important, and it's the kind of thing that you don't really look at. But the spaces she creates, the spaces she moves into to allow other players to kind of rotate round, that is kind of, it's something that's really difficult to do. The way she reads the game it's not simple. The way she kind of can predict the phases of play, how she moves into the right position at the right time, the way she can move the ball around. She really is a very, very good player. And I imagine after the Euros, she's probably put quite a lot of pressure on herself. The reality is, as fans, we've probably put pressure on her. The whole country basically has put pressure on her. So she's got to be feeling that. I mean, she's 23, 24? She's only young. She's got a really bright future ahead of her. So I think even if you say that this season she's not been at her best, she's still been a kind of key player for United. I think without her, we'd have struggled a lot more. Some of her build-up play, I think she's sat sort of back a little bit more and kind of built up further down the pitch. So hasn't maybe got the assists, but she's almost got those kind of like pre-assists that in some ways are more important and very often kind of overlooked. So, yeah, I think a little bit of a rest now before the World Cup would be good for her, both kind of mentally and physically, and hopefully a good World Cup and then back to United for an even better season next year.
Fingers crossed. I'm not going to give my thoughts on the World Cup just yet, because everyone knows my thoughts on internationals anyway. So, without saying the word, in an ideal world, I hope she gets a longer rest than maybe some England fans are hoping. I mean, I don't know about that. Maybe not before the World Cup. Maybe, she probably will go, to be fair, in the next few weeks. Who knows? I'm sure there'll be some holidays cropping up for them, and rightly deserved as well in the next kind of few weeks. Yeah, Kaz has made some good points there about her only. That makes me feel old, by the way. The fact that Toon is like 2 or 3 years younger than me, that's making me feel old. Anyway, moving on to the goal. We'll talk about the goal itself because it wasn't too. In fact, no. Before we do, actually, the first half, the chance, and I turned to Andrew at the time and said that would have been our goal of the season. The Paris one that got pushed onto the post, the Zellum ball over the top. I mean, Charlie, what do you make of that one? Because again, it's something Zellum gets criticised for, saying that she doesn't play forward passes, she's always playing it sideways. But in this game in particular, again, we saw some great balls over the top. She's got one of the most progressive passes in the league anyway, so that is a nonsense argument. But that ball from Zellum over the top that we've seen her do, and the touch and the kind of on the kind of volley from Parrott, I was from where we were looking at that. Like I said, that would have been for me one of my goals of the season because it was just perfection, that one.
Yeah, the way Paris took it down as well. It was just wonderful. And was it Laws in goal? She didn't know much about it. She just flapped around and I think was hoping it was gonna hit her. It wasn't good keeping. She was just hoping for the best. But really, really unfortunate for Paris. But again, I think back end of the season, Paris has been making runs like that all season and committing defenders in the same way and panicking goalkeepers. But yeah, it was brilliant. And it was, like I said, it's the exact sort of assist and build up to a goal we'd expect from Zellum. It was a beautifully weighted pass right to Paris. She didn't have to work too hard to take it. But when she hit it, I thought, that's got to be going in. There's no way it isn't. And And if the keeper hadn't got part of a glove to it, it would have gone in, I think. I've no doubt about that. But absolutely phenomenal. But again, when it didn't, I was just thinking, oh God, it's gonna be one of those really annoying days where Liverpool aren't offering much really, rather than being a bit of a pain in the backside and sort of digging in. But yeah, it was phenomenal. And you're right. If it had gone in, you'd be thinking a bit like the Hayley Ladd one for City against City. Sorry, you'd be thinking, oh, that would have been up there, wouldn't it? For goal of the season. But yeah, brilliant. Paris has been doing those sorts of things, or getting in those positions and making those runs all season.
It was made worse by what Shane's saying. I don't know about you, Jeff, but I genuinely thought it'd gone in. So I turned to Matt, who I stood next to in the first half, started celebrating because I thought it was in because of the angle that we were kind of looking at it. And it was just, I mean...
kind of like start getting up out of my seat, and I was like, oh my God, never mind, false alarm once again. Luckily, you were not next to me, so I did not have the same level of stress as the previous couple of weeks. I had no one like narrating when anything bad was happening, so it was a calmer day for me, to be honest.
I was going to say, yeah, you missed that on this one. Maybe next season I'll stress you out some more. With Mike can't let it go about me age. It needs some specs. I don't know about that. Like, no, you don't want to see me wearing glasses. That's for sure. Right, well, moving on to the goal then, because obviously, you know, I don't know what else to say about these subs coming off the bench, winning games, because it's something we've said all season on this channel that that's their role. They know their role and they're coming off and doing it. But Charlie, for yourself, the Garcia goal, it was a weird goal really, because she kind of scuffed the first one, kind of kicked the air almost and missed the ball, and then a brilliant finish on the second one. It was almost like she was just practicing, and like when golfers take the swing and, you know, just kind of next to the ball and then go for the real hit. But yeah, it's Garcia again off the bench. What do you kind of make of her performance, but also her coming off the bench again and getting us important goals?
But again, at this point, I feel like next season we'll see more of her. I do think we will. But what's happening at the moment is so effective. I think United have got 12 or 13 goals by subs. I think so. They're playing a massive role. I thought Maya's pass was brilliant. And Garcia's got a turn of pace, I think, you don't expect, because she was well on side. Like those Liverpool, the centre back, and was it Taylor Hines, had like 4 or 5 yards on her. And I liked the way she clipped it over the fullback's head, just embarrassed her just a little bit, swooped it over. And then if you look at it, you can see Galton actually holding off the centre back, the Liverpool centre back, just blocking her, just so she can't close her down quickly enough. And it just created enough time, with there being that miss hit where she had to go again. It created just enough time for, I think, to get the shot away. So that was good work from Galton as well, just to hold that player off. And then it curved, didn't it? It did actually curve. There was a bit of curve to it, because it was the near post of the goalkeeper. It was closer to where the goalkeeper was, but it just curved in. But again, another brilliant goal from her under quite a pressure-filled moment, because even though Chelsea were up, I think we had to win that game still. It would have been a disservice to end the season further back than 2 points. But brilliant from her. She's been amazing.
Definitely. I'm sorry, but I'm really I don't know what's going on in the comments. I think Kaz has invited all of her mates to join her or something, because I think she's got her fans or her mates or something's going on in the comments. I'm just kind of flicking through trying to see which ones are talking about the goal and which ones aren't. Jess, for yourself, what do you make of Garcia's performance? We put her on the poll. Obviously, she got the winning goal there, but again, it's another one coming off the bench, scoring the winning goal. It's just what she's doing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a super sub. Again, I was sat with my mate and I was like, oh, we just need to bring Garcia on. I was like, I'll bring Garcia on and she'll score. And then, like, when she scored, I just turned around and, like, literally screamed in my friend's face. I was like, I told you. What was I saying? So I felt good, because I was like, yeah, I'd have made that sub. Well done, Mark. So again, I don't know how people, just a little offshoot, and how people criticise Skinner and his subs when, once again, a sub has scored. Just going to put that out there quickly, leave that little bomb. But no, I thought, like you were saying before about kind of Keats nearly with the goal of the season there, if Garcia had actually hit that first shot kind of properly and it had gone in, that could have been a contender for goal of the season. But like you say, it was actually just a little warm-up, because she was going to get it with the second one. But I thought that the touch where she flicked it over kind of the defender's leg, that deserved a goal just on its own. So I'm really, really glad we got there in the end. I don't care how it goes in, how many attempts it takes. Once that ball hits the back of the net, I am happy.
No, certainly. As you say, it's another one off the bench. It's another. Oh, I'm going to have to stop looking at the call. I'm going to flick to the private chat for a second, so I can't see what's going on. It's just putting me off. But yeah, no, as you said, it's another sub goal. I think it's at 13 now or 12 for the season off the bench. I think the closest is Chelsea with like 7 or something like that. So again, far clear of the nearest team from that point of view. I think Skinner did actually talk about her and Vilda in particular. Going into next season as well. So hopefully we see a bit more of that, and who knows, as I said, it's working. Before we talk about kind of some of the post-match stuff, I want to talk which one should I go for first? I've got like 5 questions I want to ask you all, but I'm kind of just thinking which order to go in. Charlie, I'll come to you actually with it in terms of the importance of ending the season on a win, because there was a little bit of talk as the game was going on that if we would have drew, would that have taken away a little bit from the season and things like that? Just the mentality of the players to keep pushing for even though we knew the title had gone by that point, we weren't really playing for anything. We weren't going to drop a position. We couldn't go up because obviously we knew what Chelsea were doing. But the mentality of the players just to keep going, and you could see them, when they're celebrating the goal, it just meant so much still to still win the game, regardless of the fact it didn't mean anything in terms of the league table.
I think it was massively important to win that game. If you look at the gulf, like I looked at the table earlier and I did know that we were 9 points above City and Arsenal. But when you look at that, that is bonkers. To be 9 points ahead of them after the last game is a massive achievement. And we've lost 2 games all season, and it's to the team that have won the title. And last year, at times, we were embarrassed by them. We weren't this time. Are you laughing at Jennifer Jordan's comment? Are you making some sort of weird innuendo?
No, RC's a massive fan of yours.
I know. I just dropped in just for this. No one knows. I think it was massively important. Deb WhatsApped me because some people were saying like how sad it was that you could see the spare podium they had there, just in case they won. And I WhatsApped Deb, my friend from football, and said I'm gutted by that, and she said I'm not. They had to have that there. They had that there for Man United women. Man United women that everyone's annoyed at for doing so well. They had to have a podium there for us in case we won. And the guy with the real trophy, I've read an article, had to be driving around a flipping roundabout for 10 minutes, halfway between the Car Select Leasing Stadium and Prenton Park, just in case. They had to do that just in case. We took it to the last day. Think about last season. We took it to the last day in the hopes that things would go our way, so we would finish 3rd. And I think at the start of the season, if someone said last game of the season you'll beat Liverpool 1-0 just to sneak into 3rd place, we would have gone, yep, yeah, I'll take that. So to finish 2nd, so close to Chelsea, miles ahead of the other 2. And I'm sick of hearing about injuries and this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter. We've been bloody brilliant all season. I'm not going to apologise for not having injuries and X, Y, and Z. We've been phenomenal. We've got a far superior goal difference. With a crap manager, apparently. With a not good enough squad, apparently. It's incredible. I think it's amazing. That's not even answered your question. Yes, it is important we beat Liverpool because they're Liverpool and I want to beat them. But yeah.
Nice one. Sorry, I said nice one. Reply to what Barry.
Hey, dude, nice one. Oh, Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I was reading Barry's message.
Barry can't hear you.
That really, he can.
He probably can actually.
He can. I can see him nodding away backstage. So we're going to do another kind of 10-15 minutes on this review because we've still got a couple of more points that we want to bring up. There was a couple of comments. Rosa, Melissa, and Kaz are having an absolute whale of a time in the comments. I don't really know what's going on.
Oh, good.
But no, agree. I can see someone mentioning a sporty point about Everton. I don't like to say it. We're going to cover this in a season. We've got a few season review shows coming up. We'll cover that in more detail. But it's easy to say, the Everton game, Chelsea could go to the Liverpool game. It's very easy to say, we lost it there. Chelsea could say the same thing, Arsenal, because you can always say that in a season. But we'll cover that in more detail when we do our season review show. Charlie, in fact, no, Jess, I'll come to you first, actually, because obviously you were with us in the ground. Something else I wanted to mention kind of at full time. Can we read too much into full-time scenes? Now, obviously, a lot of eyes were on certain players, Honor, Russo, and a couple of the others. Can we read too much into that, do you reckon? Or are we just, as fans, clutching at every little reaction that we see? Because Honor in particular got, I think every single player went up to at full time. I said, whether you want to read into that or not, but can we look into that too much, or how are you kind of looking at it?
Yeah, I think it's, you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. Like, yes, every player went up to her at full time, but that's because you're watching her. You're not watching any other player to see if they're all going up to them as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I was doing the same thing. As soon as the game finished, I'm like, what's Honor doing? What's Russo doing? Who are they hugging? Even to the point where when I was like looking at people's Instagram posts, I was like, oh, who's posted an individual picture just with Honor? Things like that. I think there's definitely obviously a lot going on, and we can assume that certain things are happening just based on like journalist reports and things like that. But I do think you can kind of start overanalyzing things a little bit too much, especially when you consider the fact we've just finished like the season anyway. Some of these girls, I don't know what their kind of training regime is. I don't know whether they're going to have a couple of weeks off now. But they might, I'm assuming they probably have like a bit of holiday time now before they kind of start training again. So maybe it's just a case of, they're just happy to kind of get through the season together. So yeah, that being said, obviously there is some underlying kind of movements happening, but yeah, I do think you can't read too much into it for sure.
No, definitely. I can see there's a couple of comments. Obviously, Kirsty Hansen, if anyone's seen Emma Sanders' tweet about that recently, we'll cover this on a separate show as well. Something else that we had planned in for kind of the next kind of 10 days or so. Obviously, if you've seen Emma Sanders' tweet, Aston Villa are looking to buy Kirsty Hansen on a permanent. But as I said, we will talk a little bit more in detail on that on a separate show. In regards to that question, I can't answer that because I don't know is the simple answer to that one. Obviously, that is on tonight, not live streamed, I don't believe either, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously talking about Honor is 23, Trace 22. Yeah, again, I keep saying this, but we are going to cover this in another show as well. Something else I wanted to mention at full time before we kind of look at player of the match and some of Skinner's comments. I know you wanted to talk about that, Charlie, but Blundell obviously got the award at the Players Player of the Season. Just wanted to mention her because do you think she's been kind of overlooked this season or in this game or everything else because of how good Honor has been? Because clearly if you win an award like that, you're clearly very valued by your fellow players as well. Do you think maybe that is part of it, that because of how good Honor has been, no one's really looked at Blundell this season?
Was that to me or Jess? Sorry, I'm just jumping in when you
yes,
might
to you.
I genuinely don't. In the stadium, in the ground, surrounded by Man United fans, there's been chat every game about how good she's been. Like people turning around when the half-time whistles are going to go in. Hannah's been the best player on the pitch today. Hannah's been the best player. There's been loads of chat about it. And she might not be the flashiest or do all the step overs or bits and pieces like that, but she's been incredible this year. And the big thing for her is the jump in consistency from last year. She's consistently been phenomenal. And I think particularly from your defenders, that is so important for your goalkeeper and your back line to be consistent. And last year, she had a couple of tough moments, I think, Hannah, where, you think about the cup game last year against City when we were 1-0 up, and then she had an absolute nightmare, some real howlers throughout the season. So I think her ability to come back from that and put in the performances she has this season says a lot about her. I just think she's been great. She's worked really, really hard. She's very much a team player, I think, and never stops working. You never see her cantering around or just having a little bit of a rest. She's always getting stuck in. And it was nice, I think, that the players recognised that. And it won't be for any reason other than the fact that they genuinely think she deserves it, I'm sure. But I wasn't surprised by that, not at all.
I was more surprised because we couldn't work out in the stands what was going on. Like I think I said to Andrew, and I hope the players don't think we've won the league, because they started celebrating and lifting this trophy, and I thought, have we missed something here? Have Reading done like 3 goals in the last 5 minutes that we don't know about? But yeah, it was just a bit confusing, obviously, for us inside the ground. Right, I know that we're going to move on to kind of the Predictions League kind of top 10 in just a second. I want to get to player of the match, and obviously something, Charlie, you wanted to mention about Mark Skinner's comments as well, because this is obviously the Liverpool reaction, so I don't want to kind of cover that in the next kind of 5-10 minutes or so before we do have to, well, Jess obviously has to shoot off and we move on. I'll come to, in fact, Charlie, we'll start with actually, before we come to player of the match, the quotes you wanted to mention from Mark Skinner post-game, talking about obviously a couple of things. Obviously, you mentioned Garcia and Builder. I also want to ask you the question about Earps' comments as well post-game about, I said to Andrew on the way home, a 20-second clip, and in those 20 seconds, you mentioned recruitment, investment, and keeping hold of our star players in matter of 5-10 seconds in a quote. So, anything you wanted to mention on that one and the things on there?
Yeah, I think for her and Skinner, they were both very defiant, both clearly sending messages about what they want. And like Skinner saying, if he was Honor and he was Russo, he wouldn't want to leave this Man United because they're going places. Now, that's not him having a go at them. I think that's him clearly saying something to the people that are making decisions, that whether it be about contract lengths or contract sizes, that's what he was doing. And he's also talked about, like you said, him and Mary both talked about recruitment. And they were both saying, we're kind of maxed out where we are. We've got the best. We've got the best out of the players that we've got at the moment. We've got the best out of them. Now, if you're saying that, you're saying we now need to step up. We now need to go to the next level. And that doesn't mean a complete squad overhaul, but you need 3, 4, 5 players. Yeah, it was that. That was exactly it, Sporty. You need 3, 4, 5 players who can come in ready-made, who've been there and done it, and we can win. We can take that next step to win things. And that's probably the most defiant I've seen him. And it was nice to see that also from Mary, who I think is very much a leader amongst that team. It was a good thing for me. It's a good thing for me is saying it. It worries me that he says it and nothing then happens. I think then that gives us reason to worry a little bit.
Yeah, I think you only have to see mine and Matt's reaction on the show that we did on Honor and Russo the other day with stuff that we hear and know around some of those contracts, and the fact that Skinner is saying it, Earps is saying it in interviews now. It's coming out, and I think you'll start to see that more over the summer as well. With I'm going to stop talking. Jess, right, I'll come to your player of the match, and I've just ended the poll. So looking in the chat, Barisa does win the poll in the chat with 46%, Garcia with 21, Zal and Leticia both on 15. Who would you have gone for, and why?
Mine's Garcia, purely because she scored. Sometimes you genuinely just need someone to come in and score your goal, and you cannot ask for any more than that. Whilst I don't think she particularly had like a standout performance, like I've been saying, no one to me really did, but she was given a job to do and she came on and completed that job. And I genuinely think that without her, we could have played into the night and still never scored a goal. So for me, it's Garcia.
Charlie, who would you have gone for?
It was a really difficult decision actually, but I went for her in the end as well. Just because I thought everyone was okay. And she was the one that came on and sort of took the game by the scruff of the neck and scored a worldie of a goal. So yeah, a bit boring tonight. Went for the same player.
Interesting. See, I was torn between Vilda and Katie, to be honest. I thought I know what we said at the start about can they play together, and was it? I don't know. I just thought they were. A lot of our forward pass obviously came from those that you'd expect, but I think as our fullbacks weren't, as I think somebody mentioned earlier on, because Honor wasn't as good as she usually is. We didn't really have that width, so the creativity had to come from those two, and I think they did step up. So, yeah, for me, I'll go with the crowd. I'll go with Barisa. Why not? She wins this one. Yeah. Why is everyone bigging up Barry? I don't know what's going on here. There's like a whole load of people waiting for him to come on. I'll give him a little bit of an intro in a second.
His harem waiting in the comment. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of comments about the Glazers and things like that. That's a whole other conversation, which, as I said, we've got plenty of shows coming up on these as well. You know what? I'm just going to bring Barry in before we do move on to the prediction. I'll give him a little bit of an intro, because what we're going to do now, we're 40 minutes into the show. I think we're going to, for people who are fans of Jess, I think we're going to replace Jess with Barry here, because I think Jess has got a shootout, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, obviously, Jess, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
for
for
thoughts on the Liverpool game.
Everyone enjoy the rest of the show. I will look forward to catching up with it later and seeing who actually won the Predictions League in the end. I am very excited. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the show.
Indeed, thanks for coming on. We shall. I'm going to bring him on. There he is. There's all your fans, Barry, waiting in the comments for you. Look, I They're all waiting for you. I tell you, there's a lot of love in the chat tonight. I don't know. There's a lot of new faces I've never seen in the chat before. There's so many like love arts and all kinds of things in the comments. It's throwing me off tonight. Usually it's just
I like it. It's good.
It's pelters coming my way about my hair. Before we do look at the predictions league stuff, Barry, just out of interest, who would you have gone for player of the match? Or who did you go
funny
for?
enough, I also went for Garcia. So yeah, sorry about that, but I did exactly what the other two did. I same reason. You know, we weren't getting anything in the back of the net, and I think the composure after she miskicked it. You know, I'm calling it a dummy. She dummied it, made him think she was going to smash it first time. Did it the second time. Love that. So for me, it's LG all day long. And hi everybody, how are you all?
That's fair enough. I just want to. I do just want to clarify something that I put it in our private chat earlier. So RC, obviously, you're saying that I said to you, Connor, at the City away game 1 point game. I was not at City away. So if you did speak to somebody about that, it wasn't me. Unless it was in the comments.
I wonder if it just means about City away. I wonder if they just mean about City away.
If it is about City away, then that makes more sense. But I wasn't at the game. So if you did go up to somebody and think it was me, it wasn't.
There's an imposter pretending to be you.
Nobody looks like me. You don't want that. Kaz's head is going 10 times bigger. She's got all her fans in the comments. But there we are. Everyone's just happy to see you, Barry. Look at this.
Well, it's a first time for everything, isn't there?
I know.
Just goes to show you don't know what you've got. I give you half an hour off and look what goes on.
There's also this as well. So obviously we didn't win the league, so I don't have to do that, which is the one good thing.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got it on my phone somewhere, so sure we can use that at some point.
I don't know who this is, by the way. I can just see RC. This has come from the AFU men's account. About 2.5 years ago, this started, saying my kind of look-alike with Harry Maguire. So you got me intrigued now to know what's going on.
There's a lot there. I still liked my initial Rafa Benitez one for you, the old Spanish waiter. But let's quite go with it.
It's all going on. I'll let kind of Barry kind of take over. We aren't going to talk about the predictions league now. For people who don't know what it is, we have been running an AFU predictions league for the whole season, and we've released on Twitter the kind of up to the top 10, and Barry is going to run through who has made it into the top 10. It's pretty obvious if you didn't see your name on there that you have made it into the top 10. We've got some people waiting backstage. I can see them all waiting patiently to find out where that they have finished inside the top 10. But I am going to swap us around and hand over to Barry to run us through the next section of this show.
It's a bit like going under an underpass. That was there. Gave me a funny feeling in my stomach as we.
This is going to be absolute chaos, isn't it?
It's going to be chaos because I'm taking over now. You've had your professionalism. That's all happened now. The class clown's here, so it's all going to change just a little bit now. Just before we bring others in, the Prediction League, an inception from my youth. I remember playing it when I was about 10 years old, and it was a superb game. We loved it. We tried it a little bit for the Women's Euros. We had a few people join in. They seemed to enjoy it. So we thought, why not give it a go for a whole season? Connor didn't really know what he'd let himself in for, but I think he was glad that he did, because in the end, it turned out pretty good. We had about 63, 64 people who managed to get involved, and we had a good retention rate, a pretty good retention rate. We had around about 40-ish that carried on playing all the way to the end of the season, and it didn't throw their toys out of the pram if they weren't doing too well. So well done to all of you. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to try something that I don't know has ever been done before. We are going to throw literally everybody on the screen and see what happens. Anything could happen. This could be the moment the internet breaks. This could be our Beyonce moment.
So
I don't know, but we're going to try it. So I'll introduce them all, not in order of any particular winning, but just in order of how I can see them down here. So first one is Mr. Klein. There he is. We also have an Anthony. He's here. Of course, it wouldn't be an AFU show without John Commode. Big Johnny K. Stato himself is also here. We've also got, live from Italy, might I add, Mr. Matt Crane. And, of course, he's in and out. Hokey cokey, Mr. Andrew Whoa, this is taking me back to lockdown.
It literally is.
Wasn't it?
I think
Goodness.
people are going to have to put their hands up when they want to talk, because otherwise this is going to be chaos.
It could be. I could just mute everybody and get really, 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 but I think that'll be fine. So here's the interesting bit. I don't know. Have we seen TJ? Has TJ been in the chat at all today?
That's a good question. I don't think he has.
I don't think so.
Outrageous. I deliberately told him to be here. I didn't mean 7:30 his time. That could be quite a problem. But yes, absolutely. You're not kidding. So 10 places were available, and we're whittling it down to just the one. There was prizes. I bet you don't know what prizes you're buying again, do you, Connor?
Do you know? I actually don't. I know it's going to cost me a bit of money.
It certainly has. Been putting money away every week like a secret squirrel. I believe that third place was a £20 goodie bag from the club shop of your choice. I believe it was something like that. If it wasn't, it might be now. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And, of course, second place was, I believe, was it a shirt?
You tested my memory here.
I literally would have thought you knew this bit. I'm pretty sure it was a shirt. And first prize was a shirt and an Amazon gift voucher, I do believe. So I think that's what it was. That sounds very familiar to me.
It is.
It is. There you go. Look at that. See, I don't need no notes. So that was what you could have won. And that's what we're playing for tonight, boys and girls. The top 3 will be receiving that. And of course, the winner also gets a signed football by Connor. Yay! We've been waiting all season. It's the moment. I can't wait. Oh, yes, that's right. Connor's finally going to get his balls out and sign them. It's going to be awesome. So, whilst we are getting ourselves ready, who's finished 10th? Well, I might as well tell you this now, because this person isn't here, can't be here. It's even better than Blankety Blank, better than Family Fortunes, better than Opportunity Knocks, better than Bully. Can't be a bit of Bully. Apparently you can. 10th place. It was really tight. But 10th place went to probably one of the best influencers you might see out there giving football content. And that is the one and the only Nance Baker. 213 points with 12 correct scores she got. That's important. That's your little benchmark. That's what you needed to beat. So well done, Nance. Excellent work. Bravo. What I loved about Nance, though, Connor, was every single time she sent you the results, she would say, I don't know how I'm doing this. I'm literally just guessing.
Yeah, that's a bit of an insult to everyone who finished below her, isn't it?
Right? I've just literally put numbers down, which is mad. So as we introduce you guys, we're going to ask you what your strategy, I suppose, was. Were you just making it up as you went along? Were you, because I can imagine John Commode, as soon as he's getting them, pouring back over the history books, seeing how long the results have been, who's managed to beat who before, what's the head-to-heads, really checking the form guide. Very John McCririck, I can imagine, really going down into it. Whereas I can imagine Ant just went, whatever. Bit like me. So there we go. So that was 10th place. But who finished 9th? Now, 9th is a bit of a nightmare because 9th was 1 point more than Nance Baker. The bottom 5 of this were ridiculously close. I'm just, because he's not here, I can't see him in the comments. I'm actually going to skip one of these so you can see who came 10th, who came 9th, and who came 8th. And here it comes. So in 9th place was Mr. Andrew of the Wall, just down there, 214 points with 12 correct scores. And then TJ, wherever you are, get back to this bit. 49 minutes in, you smashed him by 2 correct scores. And that's why it's important to get it right. Andrew, you are the 9th place person in the AFU Predictions League. How do you feel, young man?
Happy to be in the top 10. I think, was it before that? I was 12. I thought if I can get inside the top 10, I'll be happy. So, yeah.
How have you enjoyed being a part of the Prediction League? Because, it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh, yeah, it's been brilliant. But have you enjoyed it? And do you think you'd want to take part? He's here. He's here. Look at the timing. Your timing couldn't be better, TJ. Look at this. You've literally just been revealed. Honestly, I've never known anything like it. Yes, Andrew and TJ, feel free to put this in the chat as well. You know, have you enjoyed being a part of Prediction League? Do you think you'd want to do it again next year? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed it, and we'll definitely do it again next season. I know a few times you've had to remind me of predictions to do them and get them into you. So a few times I think, was it the Villa away game? I literally told you about half an hour before that game, the predictions. I was like, thank God you reminded me. I would have missed out and getting in the top 10 otherwise. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Good. And again, your strategy. What was it, Andrew?
Partly guessing sometimes, or just thinking which team is likely to win. So yeah, sometimes pure guesses, and always going for United to win as well.
Loving that. Well, you are our 9th placed player, and you are going to get there for a well-deserved round of applause. Well done. Good job. Well played, sir. The legend that is Andrew of the Wall. And TJ, congratulations for you. 8th place. And how do I like your timing? Well, I would say probably slightly better than you're predicting. Would be a fair one to go there. Your predicting's awesome. So slightly better than that. And yes, it was fun. It was even in first place for the first third of the season. You absolutely were. Some would say you went a little bit Spursy towards the end. I wouldn't, but some might. So there you go. But good job. And yes, this one, I think predictions on United were the downfall. There was a lot of people, as we said towards the end, who were really, I think, going with their heart and not necessarily their head. So there we go. But well done to Mr. Andrew Wall for doing so well. So where did 7th place take us? Well, 7th place was out there on their own. Again, just a point clearer, 215 points. It's not going to be Andrew. We know that. Who's it going to be? I'm not going to tell you. You're just going to read the ticker. It's coming up. There's 9th place. There's 8th place. TJ. Who's going to be 7th? It is Chazza. You made it. You are 7th. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Literally just that. Congratulations. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. It was really good. I was doing all right. I think I was top 3 for a long time. And then when it got to about week 12 of the actual league and I thought United might win, I just kept betting on teams that were never going to lose to keep losing. But I'll learn from that next time.
Do you think the pressure got to you?
No, not the pressure. I was just trying to manifest like Chelsea losses and stuff every week, which was never going to happen. But yeah, it was brilliant. I'll definitely do it again next year. It was class. And I'll try and be less emotional about it.
It was tough with the emotion. It was definitely tough with the emotion. And again, what was your strategy early on was obviously very good because you say you were right up there doing incredibly well for such a long time. And then it just trickled towards the end. So is that it? Like you say, less emotion, more thinking with your head, not your heart?
Yeah, to be honest, that's me really. Like fantasy football, I just refuse to put any Liverpool or Man City players in it, and it just does for me in the end. So it's kind of the same with this. But yeah, still got that Euros win, so I'm all right.
Haven't you? Yes. Well done to remembering that as well. And who knows? It may even be a World Cup one. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. We'll have to have a little chat about that. Maybe you can win that one. Short form tournament might be your niche. Yeah. Who knows? But there we go. Well done, Charlie. You're going to get a big hand. There it is. Well done. It's not really a big hand at all, is it? It's still small, close to the camera. Perspective, everyone. That's how it works. Right. We're not going to spend too long on 6th, if I'm brutally honest with you. Connor's loving it. And the reason why we're not going to spend too long on 6th, and I'm loving this, Charlie, the Arsenal, the Prediction League, that feels a little bit harsh after Arsenal did manage to finish 2nd. So, you had to, honestly, Connor, I'm loving this. I'm in the element. We'll move across. Then you'll see I managed to make it into 6th place with 216 points, 13 correct answers, 2 less than Chazza, which means the bottom half has been sorted. And that was me, 216 points. So very enjoyable. I was just pleased to finish in the top 10, to be honest with you, because let's be absolutely clear, there was a real big point where I thought I wasn't going to get there. Now, obviously, happy that I am to finish in the top 10. I'm also really, really annoyed. Really, really annoyed. And the reason why I'm annoyed is because it means I've been beaten by Connor. It means I've been beaten by Chris. It means I've been beaten by Anthony. And it means I've been beaten by John. And it means I've been beaten by Matt. And I don't like it. So that has annoyed me slightly. So next year there's going to be renewed vigour, renewed purpose. And I just want you all to know that I'm coming for you next time. So there we go. But congratulations to all of you who got the 5th place. Hands up who thinks they got the 5th place.
There's no point in me saying anything because I know what the table is.
Well, let's have a look. It is.
I think. Yeah.
Whoever
it's the man from the sea, Mr. Crane himself, 218 points, 14 correct scores. Matt, you are 5th. How do you feel about that?
I'm happy with that. I spent most of the year in 35th until the sort of few weeks. So I'll take that. That's a good climb up the table from last time I looked.
Now, you've managed to juggle working in a women's football team, your normal job, your social life, and this prediction league. So has that been reasonably easy? Is it quite simple, just throwing out your six predictions every single week?
A bit of help from you reminded me it's not been bad, but I think it's been a juggling act. Some days you forget and then you remember last minute, and some days I wait for the little ding from you. So it's a work in progress, but at least there's no football coaching for not back for another 2 weeks. So time to chill now.
It has indeed. And your strategy was hit and hope, or was there a little bit more thought put into it?
Hit and hope at the start. It went absolutely shambolic, and I think mine was more similar to what other people like, just putting out results where you'd hope they'd happen rather than what will actually happen. And then I thought I'm going to have to change this. I can't sit down in the lowest, so I changed it a little bit and get it more sensible, should I say, and it worked.
Well, fair play to you. Well done. And can we just also, not just a round of applause for finishing 5th, but a round of applause for the commitment in another country to get yourself onto the local hotel Wi-Fi and to be able to join us just for this little 2 minutes of fame of finishing 5th in the inaugural AFU Prediction League. So well done you, Sir Matthew. Well played, sir. Good job. And thank you for taking part. And hopefully we will see you again next season. That left 4th. Now, 4th was tough. And I know that when this comes up, somebody's going to be upset because obviously the top 3 were just out of touch for them. So who made it into 4th? Well, let the ticker tell you. The ticker of truth. John Commode, you are Stato. 222 points, 17 correct scores. You are our 4th place finisher. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm very happy with 4th place and that. To be honest, when I started doing it, I didn't think I know much about football, so I was surprised myself how well I've done this season. And that so yeah, really happy all the 2s, as they say.
What was your strategy? Because, like I say, I can genuinely, I might be doing you a disservice here, but when I think about how much knowledge goes into your head, there must have been a fair bit of thinking back over previous results and how the heads have gone for you. Is that the case?
Yeah, right. I think you factor those things in. I think it's important that you don't always, as much as you want to go with your heart, you got to think logically as well. I played in predictions game for a few years in the men with friends, for men's fixtures, and I've learned how to get points almost tactically almost, and it's I've got a few exact scores this season and that, and it's just about picking what are going to be the narrow games here, because obviously you got the 3-point rule as well. So if it's if you're unsure whether it's 1-0 or 2-1, then you kind of think well, if I go with one and it finishes the other one, then at least you get 3 points or something. So yeah, you got to think logically and that take the emotion out of it. There were times sadly where I didn't always back United to win. Chelsea away, I did honestly think Chelsea will win that game, unfortunately. So you got to think that way. But I also thought with Nick will beat City 2-1, and I put 2-1 for Arsenal, which was 1-0. So you just got logically, how would someone neutral look at it? So that's the way I went about it.
And a very good job you did of it too. So can we look forward to your support again? Do you think you will be taking part when it comes to next season? A bit tricky for you because you're going to be in America, but of course, as we know about Matt, he's managed to get on here from Italy. So really, what excuse do you have? The internet goes global.
Yeah, I'll definitely look to take part. It's been a good fun, and well done to you and Connor for organising it. And it turned out to be better than we probably all thought. So it's very competitive and that. And I hope to. Yeah, I'll definitely look to join next season.
Excellent stuff. So there we go. Well done, Mr. John Commode has finished 4th. Congratulations to you, sir. But the fun doesn't end there. It means our top 3 has been sorted, but who, where, what, and why? Who has finished 3rd? Who is going to be the recipient of a little goodie bag from the club of their choice? Ticker of truth, take it away. I should have been a game show host. There it is, 3rd. It is the one and only Anthony Wilson. He had his own prediction show on this channel last year. Would you believe it? In a way, that's probably a little bit cheeky, but there we go. Ant's managed to do it. You've done it, Ant, with, out of everybody, the least amount of correct scores. Yeah. So I think where you've managed to be so successful is the number of 3-point scores you've got. So yeah, I'm not sure if you go for 2-0 and you win 4-2, then you get 3 points because obviously you've got the correct differential there, and I think that's where you got quite a lot of scores, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah, that definitely helped. I can't remember when I started climbing the league, but in the early days, it was like around the 20th mark, and then we got to the important part of the season. I slowly kept climbing the league and managed to keep hold of 3rd. So I'm very happy with that. Always nice to get a prize. So. No, I'm dead chuffed in that, and thanks you and Connor obviously for setting it up. Yeah, like you said, I had a prediction league last year, but it was a bit more basic. It was just me and John against each other, and as you can see, John's not got any better because.
Wow! What's
him and Gareth had a bit of a to and fro, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a point, weren't it, them two?
Yeah.
Crikey. But yes, no, well done for that. And again, what was your sort of strategy? Because obviously you've, as we say, used to have your predictions go out last year on the show. Yeah. What did you do differently this time, apart from having to put them out live on video?
Not a lot, really. I just thought later in the season, I started to look at scores and think, people like Tottenham, West Ham this week, for example, they're both prone to letting goals in, so that's why I went for 2-2. Brighton and Reading like close, high games like 3-2. So that sort of stuff. And then normally with Chelsea and that, most of the time they win by 0. And then Chelsea are annoying because normally you put 5-0 and they'll win 6-0 because of a last-minute goal. But
that week, then.
Swings and roundabouts.
No, absolutely. Well, you've done a fantastic job, and finishing 3rd isn't easy. So well done to you, sir. Round of applause. You are the 3rd place contestant. So well done for that. We're going to find out who out of Connor and Mr. C. Klein have finished top. But just before we do, we'll have a quick look at some of the comments because Yehuda has one of the very important points, I feel. Who got the predictions sent to the most, Barry or Connor? Whoever worked harder should also get a prize. Well, I can confirm that technically, if it was going to individual people, it would probably be me. But considering Connor also has to have the All for United, I think it's true. Because you would have done your wrestling for All for United. I don't know.
Yeah, to be fair. We're going to have to fact check this off camera.
We'll fact check it. But to be honest with you, I don't get paid, Yehuda, so I can't imagine there'll be anything there. But yeah, good questions with regards to who has got the most and where. And we might be able to publish the whole kit and caboodle. We never know. We'll have a look and see. But it is now down to the final two. Now, I'm not going to drag it out because, to be honest with you, I've dragged it out long enough, certainly throughout the day as well. So here we go. The winner of the 2023 All for United Prediction League is a newbie, Mr. C. Klein, 32, with a whopping 249 points and an even bigger whopping 27.
I literally lost to Connor by being shit at guessing the correct scoreline.
Yeah, now you know how it feels to be got by 3 points.
Oh, how disappointing. Although, didn't Connor, didn't you say you weren't going to take the prize?
I'll come to that in a second. But yeah, you literally 3 correct score. And can I just, what Barry just said there, if anyone was going to win it, Chris, I'm sorry, 27 correct scores. That is not, I think the next highest is someone like 18 or 19. So the fact just fully deserved, just absolutely smashed the cover. It was close until the last couple of weeks. Then I think I said to Barry before the last game week, it's not even close.
He went into beast mode. He absolutely did. So Chris, tell us a little bit about it. How did you do it? And has that made up for the rather awful news of Leicester not making it back in the Premier League or staying in the Premier League yesterday?
I suppose, first up, my sort of general strategy, I'm not going to reveal too much on here. I don't want to give away all my secrets. I've got to defend it next year. But I'd say the key thing I did was predicted for the big teams to win games by quite a few goals. And that's probably where I ended up getting lucky, I suppose, with 4, 5, 6-0 wins that I'd predicted. Coupled with a couple of late goals from Man United at times have helped. But yeah, I suppose that's the big thing that I've done all season. And yeah, it kind of does make up for Leicester City a little bit. I've kind of come to terms with that for the rest for this season. So, but the women stayed up, so I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, obviously, this is the women's channel. We have mentioned a lot of it. Everybody who's taken part so far has been a United fan. But you were the only person. So it's a bit depressing, also from that point of view, that we lost to a Leicester fan. All of us United fans. So it's giving you a little bit of joy. But yes, how pleased were you with the women staying up?
Really pleased, actually. We started off the season quite poorly, to be honest. And then we made the managerial change sooner than the men's team did. And it kind of proved to have an effect on us for the rest of the season. And hopefully we can build on that next year. I was hoping for that this season, but it didn't quite happen that way. But hopeful that next season we'll sort of come up the table a little bit with a little bit of the right recruitment. But no, glad that we managed to stay up this year.
Excellent. Well done to you. You are the champion of, I was going to say the world, but probably not quite fair to go along with that. Even if we did have people like Yehuda taking part from Israel, that might be stretching it a little bit. But then I suppose if the Americans can have a World Series in baseball, why can't we have an AFU World Championships here? So well done to all of you. I hope you all enjoyed it. Jennifer, I think you will find eventually it makes perfect sense. The whole purpose of the points, massively important. We'll run through them again at another time when we're setting up for the next one. Got a little plan for it, but trust me, it's a good one. It takes a while to get your head around it. Anthony was still asking me how many points he was getting as late as last week. But there we go. So, Connor, it really leaves me to just sort of throw it back over to you briefly, because I understand there is a little speech of your own that you'd like to give. I'm not going to ask you loads of questions. There's no.
It's not a spell. I just wanted to say before we wrapped up and everything else. But no, obviously, thanks to yourself, Barry, for bringing the Predictions League 2 all for United. It's been a great addition, I think, this season. Everyone I've spoke to has enjoyed it, whether the people have finished near the bottom or near the top. I think everyone's enjoyed it. It's been a bit of fun at the end of the day. Obviously, there's prizes for the top 3. Someone asked the question a second ago, will I drop the prizes down? So, John Commode, you are very lucky. I will, because it is coming from me, I will drop the prizes down a position. So, Anthony, you'll get second places, and John, you will get third places, and I will take myself out. I will accept the silver medal, but yes, I will drop the prizes down because it is coming from myself. Seems only fair on that one. But no, yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I was going to just quickly show. It's on our Twitter anyway, but I will just quickly bring up for the people that maybe don't follow our Twitter how close the table actually is. For people that maybe don't think, how close this table. I don't know how clear that is, or whether I need to zoom in a little bit.
Cool. But, blimey, just get Connor.
I don't know how. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Hang on. There we go.
More.
I can't zoom in anymore because you can't see the full table. But my point was going to be, when you look at the rest of the table, so you got the top 10, how close it still is. Obviously, it started to spread out as the season progressed, but it is really close, and I think that's what made it so enjoyable throughout the season. Obviously, Chris aside at the top kind of ran away with it a little bit in the last couple of game weeks, but it was close towards the end. Obviously, we had a couple of people in the mid. You look at even in the 20s and 30s, it's 1 point for the majority. So, loads of formulas and all kinds of things going on there. But so thoroughly enjoyed it. But the only other thing I wanted to shout out actually, was the show schedule for the week. Obviously, now we're at the end of the season. I mentioned earlier on at the start of the show, we're going to have some season review shows. It starts on Wednesday. I've not told Barry this yet. I was supposed to do it yesterday.
Looking forward to finding out what I'm doing.
So there'll be a different show on Wednesday. So the fans forum will be moved to another type of day. We'll be doing different types of shows for the next couple of weeks, season wrap-ups, team of the season shows, and all things like that. So make sure you're following the Twitter for all of those kinds of things. And I've just seen the comment from Sport. So Wednesday we'll be back 7:00 with some opposition fans for our first kind of wrap-up show. So look forward to that one. And then, throughout the next couple of weeks, we've got some specials coming up and some returning big-name guests that are always fan favourites coming back on the channel the next couple of weeks as well. So, just keep an eye out for that one, I guess.
Absolutely. Are we doing the awards on Monday? These awards that everyone needs to get onto Twitter for?
Oh, yes. It's not next Monday. I'll speak to you after about it, but it's not next Monday. However, Barry is right. If you go to our Twitter, our pinned tweet right now, everyone has 2 votes for the player of the season, goal of the season, and we'll do a show on this where we reveal the top 5 on who's voted for. You can vote for literally anybody, any goal. Just make sure you either reply to the pinned tweet or DM us on the Twitter account. Any votes in the YouTube comments, we will not put them in to the nominations because we lose track of all of that. It's easier to follow on the tweet or in our DMs, so make sure you jump on that one. It's the pinned tweet, so it's easy to find.
Absolutely. Well, there we go then. It's been a privilege and a pleasure. What an end to the season it has been. Once again, thank you to everyone who took part in it. It's a cheesy thing to say, but it's one thing to come up with an idea for a prediction league, but if you're just playing it by yourself, it does get rather boring. So brilliant stuff that everybody got involved. Well done to everyone who got involved, even if it was just for a short period of time, even if you managed to last the whole distance. Well done to all of you. I think we were saying at one point there was only really like 40 points between sort of 2nd and 40th. And when you nail that down, that's effectively 2 points a week. So we are literally talking about just a couple of points difference. And that's all you need to do. If you can get that, just a bit like United for the title, really. If you just have that one game, the Everton one, turn it from a draw into a win, and you too could be walking away with loads of prizes. So well done. It's been a pleasure. Well done, you guys, for your little show earlier on as well. That was brilliant. We'll look forward to all of the things that Connor has just mentioned. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, as Mr. Blundell would tell you to do. And we will see you on the next one. Night all.